It has now been 3 days since the heated exchange in the Oval Office between President Trump, Vice President Vance, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. A mineral deal has not been signed, and now even more world leaders are weighing in.
Let's bring back in WTOP national security correspondent JJ Green for more on the fallout that was televised. JJ, thank you for being here.
Thanks again for having me.
So let's start with a post President Trump made on Truth Social today where he disagreed with Zelenskyy, saying the end of the war is very, very far away. He went as far as calling it the worst statement that could have ever been made. So do you think that there's still room for some type of agreement between the two countries?
Yeah, I think so, but it's getting increasingly harder to do that the more statements like this that come out and the more things that President Zelenskyy says, because it seems as though the U.S. president, Donald Trump, simply is not happy with him. And it's pretty clear he doesn't hold him in very high regard. And the fact that he's continuing to ask him for an apology, or rather more appreciation, even though that he spent the whole weekend trying to do that, it just didn't register. So there's a possibility it could improve, but I'm having trouble seeing where and how.
Now, we know several world leaders are showing support for Ukraine, of course, with some even agreeing to send troops as peacekeepers into the war-torn nation. Without U.S. involvement, though, will it be as effective as Zelenskyy is hoping?
Well, I've been talking to a couple of experts, a couple of generals who know war and know essentially Europe. And what they've said is it can be effective. It's not going to be as effective as if the U.S. were involved, and it wouldn't be as quick as if the U.S. were involved, but it would work, they say. So I think what we're looking at here is basically some people choosing essentially to figure out which words they're going to use to describe this and which side they're going to come down on, because both sides can find positives and negatives. But it looks as though if Europe got involved, and they say they will, it would work, but it would take a lot longer, a lot more. And the question is, can Ukraine stay in this fight that long?
Over the past few days, many people have speculated about the U.S.'s current relationship with Russia, saying it's becoming a little too chummy. How do you think Putin is reacting to this Trump-Zelenskyy outburst? And do you think that the relationship between Trump and Putin is something that is raising eyebrows or should raise eyebrows?
Yeah, it's a lot more than eyebrows. I mean, the Putin situation, they're loving this. I mean, you don't have to be, any kind of expert to recognize this. They have been on the outs with the world for a long time, and they're now getting the opportunity to be back in the public eye, and they're getting the leader of the most powerful country in the world seemingly embracing them. What Russia has been doing, Moscow, in the last few days, is they've been trying to hit these topics and essentially inflame them, make provocative statements about them. And frankly, they're not really doing the president of the U.S. any favors. They're pushing him into a corner where he has to essentially defend them, it seems, because he's been reluctant to call them out. So it seems as though they're pushing him, and I'm just wondering how long that pushing is going to work for them, because he has to have a point where he says, okay, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say that. And so this chumminess, Russia came out and said over the weekend that the U.S. is now largely aligned with their vision for the world, et cetera. That was a hugely provocative statement, and it's put the President Donald Trump in a place where he's going to have to answer that sooner or later. A lot of people tried to talk to him about that today. He didn't answer it. But Russia, I think, knows exactly what they're doing, and they're trying to essentially use this moment for all it's worth, putting President Donald Trump in a very difficult place.
Yeah, we did hear the president try to skirt some of those questions, saying he just wants peace and for the killing of young Ukrainians to end there. Before you go, we do want to, mention that this all comes as a backdrop to a very important speech the president's about to give. He's going to address the joint session of Congress tomorrow night. ABC News can confirm that Elon Musk will be in the chamber. We also know some Democrats plan to invite fired federal workers. What do you think will be the tone of the president's speech?
Well, it could be fiery. I mean, he's got essentially the support of senators and, you know, the House. Of course, he's got the majority in both of those places. So there's going to be a lot of cheering, a lot of theater. There's going to be a lot of cheering, and a lot of standing ovations, and he loves that, and he's going to take advantage of it. He's going to use that to his advantage, and in terms of the people out in the audience, they're going to feed that too. There are two sides in there, and this is, I think, a preview for what the State of the Union would look like later. But one of the things that's really important, Victoria and Michelle, is for us to understand the world is going to be watching this, the whole world, and they're going to add this right onto the list of everything they've made so far about what's happened in the U.S., including that big shouting match that took place last Friday. They're going to add that to this list, and they're going to start tabulating. So at some point, there's going to have to be a scenario where people say, okay, the U.S. is stabilized now, and we can maybe see the light at the end of the tunnel. But if it's more like what took place on Friday, and I can't see how that would happen, but it's possible, then there's going to be this huge question about what is going on with the U.S. and where are they headed.
All right, J.J. Green, national security correspondent with WTOP. Thank you for your insight.
Thank you.